Hey, welcome back to another podcast of Random Thoughts of Madmen. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What else are we on?
Snapchat.
Snapchat, that's right. Today we're just going to do all conspiracy theories. I think we're going to start out with 9/11, about the Twin Towers, the planes hitting them. The biggest conspiracy theory is that the planes didn't cause the collapse and that there was a controlled demolition in it.
If
And
you
that-
haven't heard, look up Building 7. Building 7's a good start.
Yep. Building 7 was beside the Twin Towers. Believe it's only like 46 stories. Nothing hit it. No plane hit it or anything like that, but it collapsed on itself just miraculously, just almost impossible to do. And they're trying to say it was from one of the other buildings falling on it, even though they didn't fall on it. And you know, when they were going through all the pieces of the World Trade Center, you remember how they went out there and they had the conveyor belts getting all the pieces out? They didn't test for bombs when they were testing all that.
Well, I think they should have. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, you know.
I'm not an engineer, so I don't know what temperature it would take to do
I
that.
think at a certain temperature, you get a flash point high enough, it would cause
some melting, but it
some
wouldn't
extreme
collapse the
heat.
entire building
I agree with
starting
that.
from the bottom.
Yeah,
I agree with
yeah.
that. It didn't start from the bottom, though. It started from the top and just collapsed down. But I don't think it melted like that.
Yeah.
I think it was a controlled demolition, definitely.
So wait, you're telling me all these people that were around this, nothing was seen or heard of? Like,
You know the guy who actually owned the Twin Towers? He took out a $7 billion policy on them 2 weeks before it happened.
I knew that. And then there's one of Bush's friends, I can't even talk, owned Goldman Sachs or something, and he moved out of there 2 weeks before that happened. And then they're talking about not only another deal on 9/11 was the Pentagon. There's 100 cameras around the Pentagon that can see everything, yet they didn't see a freaking plane fly into that.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of bull crap.
or after a plane goes off radar for so long, they didn't think instantly hey, where's it at? We just suddenly lost a plane, even though it's over the United States still.
Wasn't there a bunch of important papers in the wing that actually hit, and it burned up a lot of debt that millionaires had?
Yes, the conspiracy theory is that Rumsfeld was before Congress, and he was having to answer. It was for $1 trillion or something, and he didn't know the answer, and he said, "I will have to get back with you on this at a later time." And then next week is when 9/11 happened, and that whatever it was flew into the Pentagon and hit the Treasury office where they keep all the records. Conveniently.
Yeah. Going back to the 9/11 part, the guy who also took out the $7 billion insurance policy 2 weeks before, both of his kids worked at the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center, and they both happened to be running late that day.
That was awful convenient too.
Yeah.
But another thing was the Flight 93. I'm not trying to offend everyone. These are admittedly our opinions. We are not experts.
We have a lot of respect for all
Yes.
the people who died
Yes,
there. We
yes.
just have different theories on how it happened.
Yes, I'm not saying they didn't fight or whatever. I don't think the plane crashed, though. I think we shot it down. And they just don't have the balls to say, hey, we shot it down because it was going to fly into the deal. Which is, I understand you're protecting the lives of the leaders. I don't say I necessarily agree with it, but I understand why they did it. I just don't think they have the balls to say, hey, we shot it down before it could come here.
I mean, I kind of think the reason behind it is they're sacrificing the few for the many. And that's always been a motto I think that the government's kind of gone behind. But I think if they did come out now at this point and say it, it would just cause statewide panic.
And also, before it would hit the Pentagon, there was probably more lives on board than there was in the Pentagon. So it was probably just saving
A government property officially,
yeah.
I could see that too. I could see the government being shifty like that.
What makes me mad is they take all this taxpayer money and everything and build these secret bunkers for them to go hide in case they decide to start a nuclear war and come kill all of us, but they're going to run and hide in this thing after they start the war.
Yeah.
No, you do that, your ass should have to be out with us getting ready to take the nuclear hit.
Yeah.
You want to start a nuclear war, you need to be out there dealing with it, not running and hiding with your family in a bunker for whatever reason.
I think that if you're going to be the leaders, you have to be out here leading and not cowering.
They have these secret bunkers that Congress and Senate and the president and vice president, whatever, can go live in for months in case something like that happened.
Yeah, I think they would all be connected through that airport at Denver. I think that's the main hub.
That's the New World Order headquarters.
That's the Illuminati.
Yes. That's another conspiracy theory in itself. In the Denver airport, there was like all these paintings up showing like life and death, just weird paintings. And then there's Masonic symbols all over the place. But under the Denver airport, there's supposed to be a tunnel network that goes all over the United States where they use these really high-speed trains, just where they can transport people all and back through the can't even talk, all and back through the United States. And it's been proven there are tunnels all across the nation.
So if there are tunnels, then how come no one's ever gotten into them?
I don't know how deep the tunnels are.
But so if we know they're there, how come no one has discovered them or like gone into them? Like, because if you know where they are, you should know how deep they are at this point at least.
Well, maybe because we still think the government had nothing to do with 9/11. They keep it a secret. There's so many people that control the news media outlets that they're not going to let you know all this.
Oh, yeah,
if someone did, they would shut them up. They would be like, look.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is like there's not a single soul in this country out of all the crazy people we have. There's not a single person that's decided to try to go into these tunnels or try to look for them and found them. There's not a single video yet.
Maybe, like I said, maybe they have and they were just threatened.
Yeah.
That's true.
I also want to bring up a point, just so we don't forget, like a couple days before Jeffrey Epstein's death, we were supposed to get all this news about sex rings and everything, and now we're talking about little kids in politics.
That's right. And that's another thing that just irritates me. Did you see the guy they put him in the cell with? This guy was huge. He looked like some bodybuilder or something. And they're like, oh, he's on suicide watch. But it was like the guards didn't check on him for so long. Why would you even put a cellmate in there with him?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that, honestly. Like, for what he got caught doing, who cares?
I mean,
It wasn't what he got caught doing. It's the information he had and the people he was about to expose.
Yep. He was trying to Tekashi 6ix9ine them.
That's right. That's right. There's so many memes about that guy right now. That Bob the Builder one was great. Yeah. I posted that one on the channel. Another thing, I think Bill Clinton was one of his people, and Donald Trump, they say Trump raped a 13-year-old girl, and this guy had information to it. But if you go look at the Clinton files, I believe it is, where like 34 people linked to the Clintons have committed suicide, where they had information on them, or were going to testify, then they just happened to shoot themselves in the back of the head the day before the trial.
The back
conveniently.
Of the head.
Yes. I mean, these people get up. It's clear that things are going on here, yet no one questions it, and when we do, the government's like, F off. Your opinion doesn't matter, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Changes
exactly
immediately.
Then Britney Spears starts cutting her hair off, and you think about something else.
Yep.
Just like nobody's talking about Jeffrey Epstein now.
Yeah, I think that should still be in the news, and I think we should be pursuing that to the fullest. I think that we need to get to the bottom of that because we need to get all of that out of our politics.
I want to know what people were doing. If you got some little sex ring, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
I want to know where, I want to know how much money of the government is wasted on this. How much of my tax-paying money has gone into these people so they could fly and do this illegal shit?
Do you know the government has like a secret fund to where people that accuse the congressmen and senates of sexual harassment and stuff, they have a secret fund that they pay them off with.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that brings me to a whole nother conspiracy theory with the Kennedy. Before he got assassinated, a week or so before, he was supposed to come out with his own currency. Because our currency right now is funded by these big banks. It's not an American dollar. It's
talking about the World Bank and the Federal Reserve.
They own all of the currency that the United States uses right now. And President Kennedy was going to go sign a paper getting the American people their own form of currency, and then he just happened to get shot a week later in a parade.
What the conspiracy theory is on that, I believe, like I said, I'm no expert, is the Federal Reserve owns all the money, basically, of the world. Mm-hmm. And then when we need money, we go to them and they loan us money that they're not really loaning us. They're just saying we're loaning you money at a certain percent, then we pay them for that money that they're not really giving us. It's like, I don't know if y'all watched that deal about the people buying gold. This was 2 years ago, and that they wanted their gold cashed out, and these people were charging them a gold storage fee, but they didn't really have any gold. They went and opened the lockers. They were just empty, but they were charging them $2,000 a month for a gold storage fee that they didn't even have the gold. They were just charging them that extra fee.
I'd be so pissed.
Yes. Well, I think they ended up having to give them all refunds for that one fee and stuff. Yeah. But they're like, the gold, you don't really own the gold. You just own the idea of the gold, basically.
Yeah. Which is exactly what our currency is like. I mean,
it's just all of us agreeing on an object that we think that has value. It's literally just paper.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like diamonds. De Beers controls the diamond market. They're not rare like they say. There are millions of diamonds that De Beers hoards and will not release to the public just so they can keep the prices up and rip us off.
See, I think that's such horseshit too, because these people go out there thinking that diamonds are such a precious... They're just a rock that someone has mined out of dirt. And it's so annoying to think that we have so many laws in place to keep people from monopolizing companies, and yet it's just clearly what they're doing to the diamond industry is they're monopolizing it.
If they can't monopolize here, they just move to another country.
Yeah,
exactly.
And see, if they can't do it here, they'll just go somewhere like in Africa. There's a bunch of diamond mines, but they're blood diamonds at that point because you hire people for 10 cents to go mine them out, and then they probably just kill them off and take them and come back.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do have purposes for their sharpness and cutting abilities. Whatever. They have a purpose, but they're not as valuable as they say and as rare. It's just like Valentine's Day. They make up all this crap so we'll go spend money for this fake holiday. Just like, I mean, I'm not saying Christmas is a fake holiday, but it's all about gifts now. You know, it's not about Christ or if you believe in that sort of thing. You know, it's not about that. It's about giving gifts, which is... It just ruins it for me.
I think there's more people at the store on Black Friday than there are at their family houses.
Exactly. They're waiting for that store to open at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I can't stand a lot of people. There's no way I could make it through a Black Friday.
Oh, man. I've only done it a couple times, and it wasn't worth it.
I would be in there punching everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got $20 off the entire order.
People die on Black Friday.
Oh,
I've literally read stories where... Like, I think last year or 2 years ago, I read a story where a person got mowed down by a MAC-10 machine gun in Walmart over a frozen turkey.
Well, you know, when they first open the doors, it's like a stampede of cows going in there or something. If you fall, you're screwed.
Let me tell you how eerie it is. Like, I was in Walmart probably about 5 years ago during a Black Friday, and as soon as it hit midnight and the employees were like, get at it, you hear so much plastic being torn and so many carts hitting each other. It is so...
Dude,
it's not even fun.
It is a war zone in there.
They only put so much stuff out, though, so you have to be the first one to get there. Yeah. We're getting a little off topic here. So, all about 9/11. I think it's obvious none of us think that 9/11 happened, but we don't think it was just a terrorist.
There was definitely two planes that hit the Twin Towers, but what brought the towers down probably was not those two planes.
There's another conspiracy theory that there were no planes. Those are computer generated, and they're like, they had witnesses on the ground and everything that there were no planes.
Yeah.
And I've watched the videos over that. I don't know if I believe that. Like I said, I wasn't there. I would probably have to be there to see that one for myself to believe it or not. But
so, I mean, like the theory with how it actually came down, the actual like recording that the U.S. says was there was a fireball sent from the jet plane, like its fuselage, went down an elevator shaft. It went down. It hit like the 72nd, the 27th, and the 19th, in the lobby. And like, how does it go to all those places and still have the force to knock out all the windows in the lobby? There's people that were in the lobby, and they said that the first plane hit, it felt like a bomb went off inside the lobby, bursted all the windows outward, and then the second plane hit a few minutes afterwards.
I don't know how it happened, but one thing that really pisses me off about it is how they were taking pictures and putting it on the news of those people jumping out of the top.
Yeah.
Those poor people were up there. They had no choice, whatever, were jumping out, and the news was just eating it up, getting that story out of it.
Yeah.
God, I think we should stick your ass up there and take a picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
I do think there's one picture that holds a lot of merit. There's this one where a woman is jumping out, and she has the decency to hold down her skirt because she doesn't want anybody to see her underwear on the way down.
We are such a bad species in general. Anything we get, we kill. It's like, I'm not saying I believe in Bigfoot or whatever, but if I was a Bigfoot, I wouldn't let us find him. Because you know what? We'll kill you. And then we'll stuff you up on a wall, and then we'll kill any remnants of you. We won't just let you be. If I was Bigfoot, I wouldn't show us or myself to us either.
Yeah.
We were a horrible race. We kill everything. Wiping out the rhinos. We can't just leave anything alone.
Yeah, maybe that's why they didn't allow us in Area 51 a few days back.
The aliens. We would kill them all off.
We would just kill all the races that they had. They're trying to preserve.
If aliens came all the way, theoretically, from another planet, do you think we could kill them?
Oh no.
No.
I
also
don't know.
think-
That's a big topic because there's no way, if we're assuming there's alien races out there, we can't just automatically assume at this point that we're the dumbest race out there. Then there has to be other alien races that are worse off than us.
Okay, yes, there it's possible, and it probably is happening because there's so many galaxies out there. But the aliens that actually get to us are much smarter because they actually got to us, and it takes a lot of technology to
But
do
how
that.
do you know that takes a lot of technology for them or for these other races? For them, it could be just different.
All right,
No.
let's start the whole alien deal over. All right, I don't know if you believe in aliens or not. I do.
Yeah, I think it's improbable. Like, there's so many
Yeah.
galaxies out there. It's just
You
probability
gotta
says
think,
yes.
The human mind can't comprehend what forever is. Space goes on forever and ever and ever, never ends. You can't tell me that there's nothing else out there. I've never seen an alien. I've never seen a UFO, but I think there definitely is the possibility.
Yeah.
Roswell, I think Roswell happened. When they found it, they come out and posted a newspaper, or the dude posted
redacted it.
yes, it's saying we captured a UFO and little whatever men they were. Then the next day, they took it back and was like, oh, we're just messing with you. It was just a weather balloon.
Yeah, I actually went out to Roswell and like this last summer, and actually went to the museum there, and it's really cool because they have like a movie playing, and it says like this. They actually play up into the aliens there. So it says like this farmer was out there and he found this metal, and it was like tinfoil, but you could crush it, and then when you let it go, it would retake its shape. So that's what they think the UFOs were made out of.
Man, these UFOs could be made out of anything. They could literally be made out of our imagination, but that's what the aliens are using to play us with. Like, if we can't comprehend the word forever, we can't. There's so many more things we couldn't comprehend. Because, like, it's hard to assume that an alien race has the exact same materials that we do on their planet as we do. They could have stuff completely out of our elements that we just can't make here. They could have elements that just...
All right.
Yeah.
Well, part of the conspiracy theory is not only is there aliens, but it was back in the 50s. I'm not sure on the dates. Don't quote me. Don't be hating. But like Eisenhower met with the aliens, like 3 of them at whatever Air Force base, and made a deal with them that they could do experiments on people in exchange for information or technology, whatever it was. And then that's how all this started. And then all the cattle mutilations are have. But you can't tell me out of the millions of people that have seen this, not one of them is telling the truth. Not one. I find that a little hard to believe.
Yeah.
Not to mention, there's cave paintings of UFOs. They're in pictures from a long time ago. Everything else, like paintings, all this stuff. Not one person's telling the truth. In the Mayan deals on their carvings, it shows like spacemen on there.
Yeah.
What else are you going to call it?
Well, I mean, with them, it could have been a headdress that got eroded over time. Like, I'll fight both arguments. I also don't like the idea that crop circles are a thing. I just don't think they would come up and fuck with our crops and then leave.
Yeah.
It would be,
Well, have you ever seen signs?
yeah.
Maybe it is like a map for them.
I
I don't know why they would need a map, though, if they come all the way from 20 million light years. Why would you suddenly need a map on Earth?
I'm just saying, I think it's hard for us to assume anything about aliens.
Yeah.
Because we can't comprehend the slightest thing. I mean, it just brings up a whole nother conspiracy theory
Yeah.
off of aliens that this could all just be a simulation.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever heard of Bob Lazar, about the guy that worked at Area 51 and all that, and worked on Element 115? That's what's supposed to power the anti-gravity engine on the alien crafts. And if you listen to his stuff, he said that we have 3 UFOs, and we either found 1 or 2 of them from archaeological expeditions here on Earth that were thousands of years old, and we found the UFOs there. And their stuff still works. I mean, and the government tried to discredit this guy and say he never worked there, which it was proven he did. He knows about this handprint deal that they used, that it would never come out in public that they used it. And it didn't come out till 10 years later, after he was talking about it. Everybody said he was lying, that it really was there. And then all this different stuff, he went into the lab and showed them all the places he worked. They said they tried to discredit him for going to college at Stanford or Yale, wherever it was. Turns out he did go there. The government is just trying to make him look like an idiot.
Trying to wipe him off the map.
Exactly. That's what they were doing. And before the internet, you could do that to somebody fairly easily if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's a little bit harder. And they got caught I mean, if he's not telling some kind of truth, why are they doing all that?
Oh yeah,
Why can't they just,
just own up to it. I think that it would cause mass pandemonium. Like if we let out that we had aliens, it would kill all religion. I think that it
I'm
would
totally okay with that because religion in itself is a conspiracy.
Well,
I find it hard to believe that a man created a book out of nothing and just suddenly walked the earth, and then everyone is just supposed to bow down to him.
Walking a dangerous path, they're talking about that. Yeah, dangerous. I do. The older I get, I'm not saying I don't believe in God. I used to go to church all the time. I was a really spiritual person, but the older I get, the less and less I believe after everything I find out.
Listen, I don't discredit religion at all for those who believe in it. If that's their cup of tea, I'm not going to stop them
I
from
do
drinking.
honestly think religion slowed us down a lot in technological advances, like the
religion
Dark
in
Ages.
itself slowed down advances. It caused wars. It's caused nothing but continuous arguments to this day. And honestly, what's the point of a church? I thought churches were supposed to be like no money involved, anything. You come to pray and leave. But every time I go to a church with some friend or whatever, I see them asking for donations.
We got to keep the church going. Even God, it says in the Bible, give 10% of your earnings. I mean, I want to believe in God. I really do. There's a piece of me that keeps holding on. I still pray every day. I want to believe, but there's so much of me that doesn't anymore. I don't know how else to explain it, but I know I don't like this Pope that's in office. Ever since he got in office, I've been telling April the stuff he's been doing, like listens to rock music and doing all this other stuff. That's not what a Pope does.
Yeah.
I don't trust
He's trying
him.
to be more mainstream.
Yes, exactly. And that's not what a Pope does.
Yeah.
A Pope is supposed to be God's number one man on the planet, and no.
And that's another thing I never really enjoyed about churches. Like, I think it's Life Church, how they modernize God and try to make it more fundamental for the youth. And you're getting away from the point of God at this point. I think the whole reason for church was you come as a family, you pray, you get rid of your sins, and you leave. You're not there to play band. You're not there to eat and drink snacks and talk.
Yeah, I think mostly a lot of religion is like a social thing for a lot of people. I think they meet a lot of their friends there. They just enjoy it. And I'm not discrediting that. That's a good place for people to mingle and a safe atmosphere to do it in.
Exactly. It could be at the bar. And I'm not knocking Life Church. I used to go there when I was dating my ex-girlfriend. But I didn't like going there just because I couldn't hear when we left.
There's a rock band up on stage.
I was always Southern. Well, my dad raised us Church of Christ, which I ended up stopping going just because I got tired of it. But then when I was older, I started going Baptist church, and I like the choir, and I like a preacher. I don't like people yelling their music, and it's just not me. It's not my thing. But Life Church does save a lot of people, and if there is a God, then good. I'm glad they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it at all. That's just not my thing.
That is my outlook. If it turned out that God was real, I'm not okay. He's real. I don't get mad at people for believing in like religion or going to church. I just think there is a lot of conspiracy behind it.
For myself, there's not a sufficient amount of hard evidence. I like to be shown things. I like to have.
You're Thomas. You're Thomas. You ever read the Bible? Oh, I've read the Bible many times. You're Thomas. Even when Jesus told him that he was coming back, he still didn't believe. Then Mary Magdalene went and got all the apostles and was like, Jesus is back, and Thomas still didn't believe. And Jesus kind of went up and stuck his hand up there and said, stick your finger through that hole. He said, you believe because you see.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if there was a God, I don't know why it would be such an issue just to be like, hey, boom, I'm here.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, everyone talks about this great man giving these great powers to people and everything, but if he's such a big deal, why can't he just be like, hey, I'm here?
Because according to the Bible, that's what God's plan is. God wants you to live your life and accept him and not the devil.
And also, there's
and
thousands
this is your
of
test.
religions out there. How do we know which one's correct?
You don't. But you know what? You're going to have to make your mind up sooner or later, because if you're wrong and there really is a hell, you're going to be in a world of crap.
Listen,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's not too bad.
Your mind can't comprehend what forever is, but if you've ever read about hell, it doesn't sound like a pleasant place to me.
But see, I think that whole heaven and hell thing is man-made.
Yeah, like I don't live my life poorly. I don't make bad decisions. I try to help people when I can. And
Are you saved?
I'm not a bad person.
Are you saved?
It doesn't matter if I'm saved. I think that
I'm
if
asking
there was
you,
an actual God, he would
saved?
look at my being and he'd be like, he's not a bad guy. Why would I send him to hell?
Are you saved? That's my only question.
Nope.
All right. In the Bible, it says you cannot get to heaven through works alone.
That's in your Bible. There's
Well,
plenty
exactly.
of other Bibles
I'm
out
just-
there.
Exactly. And I'm going off the Christian Bible. I don't know about
And see, just
Buddhism
this here
or-
alone, just from what I've been listening to,
Exactly.
it's religion caused arguments.
I'm not arguing.
No,
I'm
we're
just
just having a
I'm just
conversation.
stating
No, and
the question.
I know we're not actually fighting, but this is just proving
I
a
know
point
this was
that
probably how it started thousands of years ago, and then
Just like I was talking to one of our coworkers the other day about being on our podcast, and she was like, you know, you and I's political views are just so far apart, and blah blah blah. I'm glad you have political views different than mine. We're not robots. You're a
yeah,
human.
you are allowed to have your own
Exactly.
opinion.
I
live in a-
welcome a good debate.
we
Please
live
come
in
on
the good
and
old
debate me
USA.
about it.
You can make
Exactly.
your own choice.
Please have a different opinion than
Yeah.
me. You know, that's the beauty of this place. You can think for yourself.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to think for you. These are clearly my opinions. I want other people's opinions. That's just me, though.
And if you haven't found me out yet, I mean, I'm not left or right. I think I'm right down the middle. I have both tendencies to do both things.
I don't trust anybody in the government. That's how I am. I am skeptical of everything they say because it's turned out so many things they tell us are lies.
You know, I had a coworker tell me one time that he thinks like there should be political figures that just do like acting, like the Kardashians. They should be people that just want it for like to keep up with everything. They should be that, and then behind the scenes there should be like or there should be like political figures. There should be people that do things that we know about, but we have to do research to know about, rather than just say, oh, hey, turn on the news, oh, Trump's fighting with a little girl, or Jeffrey Epstein died, or like, I think that stuff like that should just be in a different setting rather than just political.
My opinion, my personal opinion, I think they should outlaw lobbyists. They are nothing but just a cancer to the political system. And then I think if you get elected office, it should be like a reality TV show for you. You should have a camera following you around all the time, showing what you're doing, just so you can't lie about it. And they shouldn't be allowed to politician you either. Somebody asks them a question, like a yes or no question, they give this big old long answer that's really not an answer. Wrong. You work for me. You should have to tell me yes or no.
Yeah.
Is this what you believe? Not a 5-paragraph long BS answer. You know, yes or no. That's all I want.
It's all of that derives from the point is that America has become complacent with how they are, and they don't want their lives changed, so they'd rather have someone else fight their battles. So as long as they get to continue waking up, drinking their cup of coffee, and going to work,
Also,
they don't care.
I also don't think they could give you a solid answer for one reason, and that's just because it would make you happy, but it might piss off the other half of the U.S., and it hurts their chances of
But
getting
that's
elected.
that's your job as the government official, though, is to be correct. No matter if it upsets one half or not, you need to tell the truth.
Exactly. You got to stand somewhere. Just like we were talking about being saved. I'm saved. I'm not afraid to say it. But like I said, you know, I lose more and more faith the older I get. And I hate being like that. I don't want to be like that, but that's just how it
But
is.
see, I don't think you should hate yourself for doing that. If that's just the way your life's moving, then
I
that's
understand.
how it is.
And another deal about Jesus and Mary Magdalene, whatever, there's so many books of the Bible that the Vatican's hiding. They have a big city under their city with full of a library of books they won't let people in to read. There's so many books that were omitted out of the Bible. What did Jesus do from the time he was a kid till he was 31 years old? Whatever. We don't know what he did. But they're down there in that library.
What did this so-called God do his whole life before he found us?
That was always my question to my dad. I was like, how did God get there?
Here's my
Yeah.
Who, if God created the earth, who created God?
Exactly.
Because you can't just come from nothing.
Well, that's also, it's a big argument because, like, I myself am an atheist. Like, I used to grow up as a religious person, but now I don't. But that's what I would ask myself. It's like, I believe in the Big Bang Theory, something from nothing. But then, like, if you believe in God,
You believe some rocks bounced together and created all of us?
well, I think it was a singularity that exploded.
But I'm just thinking, if you have nothing, I know we can't comprehend the word forever, but if we're going off of that logic, you also can't comprehend the word nothing. To see absolutely nothing, that means there's no atoms, no molecules, no anything. So what is truly nothing?
So what if
Because
we're in a-
air can't exist, so there's no air or space, so
what if we're in a matrix? Have you heard the matrix conspiracy
that,
theory?
That just brings me to the whole simulation theory, and the whole thing behind that theory is that you can't prove if you're in a simulation or not. Like, I can't prove that you guys are all generated in my head right now, or I'm just hooked up. And the way that simulation works is, it's just like a computer program. It loads whatever's in front of me, but behind me could just be floating numbers. But I won't know that because when I turn, it'll just generate that next piece of information for me. It's just never ending. So, and there's no way to disprove this theory either. There's absolutely no way.
There's not, but I think the whole matrix theory is pretty far out there.
I mean, yes, it's kind of far-fetched, but if we're going to...
But, I mean, if you think about it, like...
Anything's possible.
We've come up with so much technology here in the last, 10 years. I think we're getting to a point to where we're almost running AI processes. So, what would, 500 years of advancement do to that? We could just replay it in a simulation. We could have a whole
But this
thing.
just brings us back to aliens too. Who's to say? I know this is way out there, but while who's to say we're not in some alien kid's shoebox in his closet and we're his science project?
You've been watching Men in Black. What is that? Men in Black 3, where he opens the locker and we're just.
I'm just saying,
marble.
we're an ant farm.
If we're getting far out there, who's to say we're not just sitting in a box? Like some alien was just like, "Hey, mom, let me get some of this alien water," and just went shh, and then.
Well, if there is a God, then we are just in a box to him. You got to think how big he could be or how small he could be, whatever. We are just a little box. If he's omnipresent.
And then we're bringing up a whole nother. I kind of want to collide these theories real quick. If we're saying God is the Almighty, that means He's created literally everything. But if whatever created Him, what does God think of His God? Like, does God have a God?
No.
So he just thinks he is the Almighty.
Yes. I can't answer that. I don't know how God got there, and if I had one question to ask him, that's what I would ask him. Yeah. How did you get here?
Because then where's all those books proving his existence, his parents' existence, where all that stuff came from?
That's where you have to have faith in the Bible.
Exactly.
And you can't disprove faith because it's not something that's... it's not scientifically proven. Like, you can't disprove it.
But I think faith is a human man-made thing, because if you take an alien who's never been to Earth, they won't know what faith is.
What if we were created by an alien race? What if they seeded the planet?
That's what I'm saying. We could be a biome.
I'm just saying, what if they seeded the planet and they created religion to control us? That's another conspiracy theory.
I think that they created lizard people. I don't
the lizard people is a race of aliens, supposedly.
That are hiding within our politicians.
The Anunnaki are supposed to be the world's elite, like George Soros and Bush and the Clintons are supposed to be.
Every political figure is supposed to be a lizard person.
Yes, that drinks blood and eats kids, whatever.
Yeah, which also brings up adrenochrome. This is a conspiracy theory I read about last week, and it was that the powerful people that never age that you see, like movie stars and everybody.
Will Smith.
Yeah, like people like that, they never age because they're drinking adrenochrome, which is you have to get it from kids, and then you scare them and traumatize them and get their adrenal glands going and get adrenaline into their blood, and then they kill the kids and take their blood and then drink it. Which is the most far-fetched conspiracy I got to read about.
We've made a movie over this, and you guys aren't realizing this. Monsters, Inc. They went in and scared kids and collected their fear in jars.
Listen, but laughter's...
That's literally, because they just disproved it, and that's why the government's hiding it, but Disney came out with a movie about it.
But
oh my God!
But you like a regular person can only take so much blood, because if you get infused a unit of blood or whatever, I don't know how it does with the drinking. The iron levels, you can't get rid of them, so your iron levels are eventually going to go so high. I don't know what would happen.
But if these are reptilian people we're talking about, who's to say they have certain levels of iron that
exactly? Who's to say there's reptilian people?
Who's to say Pennywise isn't real and he's the leader?
They all float down here. Yes.
Oh, yeah, they're floating.
Yes. There's supposed to be 4 types of aliens. The Anunnaki's one.
Gray man?
Yep, the gray.
I think it's the small little, just basic.
There's brown.
There's supposed to be 3 of them are for us, and one of them is trying to hurt us. And the other 3 have been protecting us this whole time. There's supposed to be a building in Washington, D.C. where the 22nd floor is really not there. but that's where the alien lives, and only like certain people have access to it. I know this is pretty far out there too, but
I mean, I enjoy hearing it.
I'm just saying, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about this stuff.
Yeah.
But this is where this guy lives that helps run our government. And then, like the leader of the CIA, like George Bush Sr., can you imagine what that guy knew? He would know.
Yeah.
I mean, in the like if you were
we had this
president,
alien race, why haven't we advanced faster?
what if they don't want us to advance any
So
faster?
what's the
What if
point
we
of-
destroy ourselves?
So
we
what's
kill everything. Do you not remember the conversation we had earlier?
But what's
We
the point
kill
of the alien
everything.
being here if he's not doing anything? Like, why would he want to live on this crummy planet?
Maybe we kept him captured.
You're telling me this advanced alien that knew how to get to our planet perfectly and decided to live with us in a floor that doesn't exist, which means he's clearly getting his own suite. You're telling me he'd rather live on this crummy planet, giving our dictators advice bit by bit over the next 1,000 years.
Maybe that's his job. We send
But
ambassadors to other countries to help them. Maybe he's an ambassador to Earth.
And how?
But I'm just
how
saying,
are
why
you
would he live in a
supposed to say-
crummy floor and not have an ability
I
to
doubt
teleport out?
And how are you supposed to think like thousands of years to him may just be like a blink for us?
Exactly.
It may just feel like that's nothing to me. I'll
Like
go
I
do
said,
it.
maybe they want us to go slow. I actually think that could happen. Now, another theory I believe in, I don't know if y'all ever heard this. This is supposed to be like from the Buddhist texts and all that, from Tibet and all that. There's supposed to be caves in Tibet that the Buddhist monks use to go to the center of the earth. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Agartha. Like,
Is it the planet? Like it's like a nice place underneath.
no, it's in the
planet?
middle of the earth. The middle of the earth is supposed to be hollow, and there's supposed to be a star under there that it's the sun. But I know this is pretty far-fetched too. I'm not stupid. But now the entrances are supposed to be at the poles, the North and the South Pole. If you ever look at Google Earth or whatever, they don't show the poles. It never shows the space station flying over the poles. They always close the window where you can't see it. And there's a no-fly zone within like 100 or so miles around the poles. You can't fly anywhere near the poles. They're hiding something there.
Hold
and
on.
then it was like in the 50s that
Wait,
Admiral...
they're hiding it on the poles or in the center of the earth?
There's supposed to be a hole going all the way through the center of the earth, according to the conspiracy theory.
No, how big of a hole are we talking? Like, how are we keeping the earth from not falling apart?
Gravity? Hell, I don't know.
Well, like
But
how
if you
big of
have
a hole
these
is it? It's
giant
like
tunnels
10
to the
miles
center,
wide?
yeah, like if you have these giant cracks to the center of the earth, like how are we keeping the earth together?
I'm not a scientist. I don't know. I'm just telling you the conspiracy theory.
Also,
Anyway.
also, this also brings me to flat Earth theory.
The flat Earth, I
which
think, is
think
BS.
that the Antarctica and the North Pole both are guarded by the government, so we can't go there.
Well, the government is guarding the poles. That's true fact. There's something there.
I don't know.
There is
There's
something
been
there. They don't
scientists
want
that
us
go
to
down
know.
there and they
I'm
come
not
back.
saying it's Agartha. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying there's something at the poles they don't want us to see.
Yeah.
But apparently there's supposed to be another race of people under there, and they're a lot more advanced than us because in the 50s, look it up, there's a guy named Admiral Byrd sent a fleet of ships down to Antarctica, and he flew a plane. They were like just flying around, and he flew in this hole at the South Pole, and then they ended up flying whatever over this forest, and they went to the city where these people were. I don't know, just watch the deal about it.
Who's to say the earth, before we existed, didn't just build on top of itself? Like, you know, like the earth, kind of like if we were going off of like Futurama, you know how they have like the New York and then
New York?
Yeah. Who's to say that just didn't happen with the earth over millions of years, and we just have our timelines all messed up, thinking that like Jurassic and this happened at these times, when in reality, like, the earth could have just been a metal ball and just slowly, from all the debris in the space, just collected.
So-
and we're just the most recent layer right now.
Do you believe in parallel universes and all that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
No,
there's
Although
no way.
I can't. It's hard to believe in time travel because I think that we would know about it by now. Somebody would come back and be like, "Hey, time travel's real. Bye."
Well, I'd say they've captured pictures. You can't believe anything you see on the
Yeah.
internet.
I mean, but didn't who's that really smart guy?
Stephen Hawking.
Didn't they like send a plane around the world, like the orbit of the world or whatever, and he put a time clock on it, and then had a time clock on Earth, and they came back and they were like 0.4 milliseconds off from each other or something. like proving that out in
It's-
space
it's-
time is slower.
The theory behind that was gravity creates like our gravitational field.
The plane,
is also,
creates our time.
Yeah, is also creating time.
Which
And-
time is a man-made thing.
Well, yeah,
It is. Because no other thing follows time but us.
that's true. But like one of the
So does that mean gravity's man-made?
No, gravity's in space too.
Yeah.
Is it like 1/6 gravity on the moon than it is here? The moon's supposed to be hollow too. There's supposed to be alien bases inside the moon. They put seismographs up there when they went up there, and then they launched missiles at it, whatever, and then they heard ringing for like hours.
I mean,
Like it was hollow, like it's a hollow bell or whatever, but they heard ringing on the seismograph literally for like 3 hours when they launched missiles at it.
if we're talking about loud noises too, I watched the video on YouTube, and I think it's called the bloop or the bing or something. But basically, the average, like, I think it's the sperm whale or the blue whale, which is the largest like sea creature that we know of right now. They like when they make their noise, their sonar, they can graph it so far, like the distance. I think it travels like a mile max or something. Well, this sound that they heard, it was down by South America. It traveled like 40 times farther than any like blue whale. But the thing is, it moved. Like it pinged once, and then again it pinged somewhere else, and they don't know what it is. The Kraken. But no, it is true. You could look it up, and they haven't heard it ever again.
There's also this thing called the Taos hum, and it happens in I think New Mexico, Taos, New Mexico, and people claim that they hear like a very low hum, and it goes on for a few hours and it just stops.
I don't know.
So
What do y'all
where would that hum come from?
No clue. What do y'all think about JFK? Y'all think Oswald really is the only one that killed him?
Oh no, I think there had to have been multiple people.
Have you ever seen the movie Shooter?
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
You think identical to that?
I think the banks wanted to get rid of him, and so they hired somebody or did something and shot him.
Oh, I think it was more than just the banks, like Johnson and all them. I think Kennedy was wanting to.
He was wanting to shut down a lot of big.
Yeah. And
So I
they
don't
did-
know if it's a conspiracy, but did you know there's like a bunch of relatable things between Abraham Lincoln and JFK?
I saw that about the dates and everything, the names
Yeah.
of the secretary, and when they went into Congress and all that. Like
Yeah,
all
I've
of it
seen-
could
I've
almost
seen that, yeah.
interchangeable.
It's
like
kind of creepy.
like Lincoln was shot in a theater and the guy ran to
A theater after he shot him and
Yeah.
all that. There's all kinds of stuff like
he
that.
ran to a warehouse and then the guy shot from like a warehouse and ran to a theater.
And then Ruby killed him. I mean, he killed him for a reason. But
Oh,
then
yeah.
they're like, when they were doing JFK's autopsy, they're saying that the brain they were taking pictures of wasn't JFK's. His brain got lost. Yes, and that is a fact that his brain did get lost.
Have you heard of the theory that
Yeah.
Walt Disney's brain has been taken and they
Like
froze
frozen?
it? They froze it so they can bring it back later in life.
You know, he died before his first theme park even opened.
Really?
Did you know that? He wasn't even alive when it
No,
opened.
I've read that too, where they were doing like scientific stuff like in an underground facility, and
yeah.
they like apparently cut his head like off and they froze it.
Yeah, it's called cryogenics.
Yep.
And like I
They
think
wanted to test it to see if they could unfreeze him.
I think it only costs like $8,000 to be cryogenically frozen, and like you can, if they find a cure for something that you had, or if you die, like they'll just cryogenically freeze you, and with the hope to bring you back. So I've heard of people doing that too.
I don't know. I also believe there's a cure to the common cold and cancer at this point, but
I don't think there's a cure for the common cold. Just it morphs into so many things. I believe they do have a cure for cancer, and they're holding it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more profitable to treat cancer than to cure it.
what this just comes down to is the government will just nonstop hide stuff from its people forever.
Well, of course, there's no money in giving a cure. A bag of chemo, some of the chemo out there is $100,000. You got to go have one of them, one a week? Instead of just giving somebody a $10,000 cure, you know how much money would be lost?
Oh yeah,
It makes perfect sense to give a cure. Don't get me wrong. I want them to release it if they have it, but they're not going to. There's no money in it.
Oh yeah, and if you look at people who have AIDS, like really wealthy people, stay alive.
Magic Johnson.
Forever.
That guy
40
weighs
years.
more now than he did when he got AIDS. But you know, like I've taken care of some people with HIV and stuff, and now it's pretty much everybody. If you take your medicine right, they can get your CD4 levels down like to where it looks like you don't even have HIV now. Just the medicine's getting so advanced.
Yeah.
And that's for like the common person.
Yeah.
I also read up on medications that we're abusing as a world, like everyone, that they've abused medications to the point where like all these viruses and bacteria, like they're morphing past what a lot of these medications can stop. So they were actually predicting in like 50 years that a lot of these things that we thought we could keep away are just going to come back and destroy us, because there's only so much you can advance medications. Like,
well, we would just find a new medication for it.
There's some viruses that morph, like the flu morphs every single year. The common cold morphs everybody has one that's different.
Yeah, when you get the flu shot, it's only for like 3 strains of the flu. The most prevalent ones of the previous year.
Yeah.
But there's like so many strains of the flu, it's not even funny.
There's like 1,000 strains of the flu, and then there's these guys that are up in, I think, Alaska that produce it, the vaccine each year, because it travels with the birds. So they come out with, they do a bunch of research for that year. They see which 12 are the most prevalent, and they release like 3 or 4 shots, and they send them to different parts of the country, so that way we can prevent those 4 most prevalent.
I got another deal. I don't know how much of this is true, don't get me wrong, but I did hear it, that like gonorrhea, like Rocephin is the only drug that will treat that now. Once it's morphed into all the other stuff to where nothing else is, it's not susceptible to anything else. So once it morphs where it's like not susceptible to Rocephin anymore, we won't be able to cure it. That's like one thing. That would be bad. Would be very bad. Would be very bad. What do y'all think about the RFID chips they're putting in people? Like some of these companies and stuff are starting to implant them in people if they work for them, or they won't let them work for them.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. What would you do if our job told us to do that?
I
would quit.
I would quit too.
Yeah.
I'd be like, sorry, can't do it.
Especially in the medical field, if we're all about like keeping people's privacy. You think how
they probably have trackers in those.
Yeah, can you imagine what's on those chips? Instead of like paper, they electronically have all their medical stuff right there on that chip. Can you imagine if someone just happened to walk by, like, because people have devices that steal your credit cards without you even knowing. They just walk by and touch you. Can you imagine if someone was just walking down the street and came up with their phone and was like, had your entire life right there?
Exactly, medical record, everything. Nothing would be private anymore.
No.
I think that people should have like a medical card. So like every medical record you have, whenever you go to the doctor, you just swipe it and it adds that like thing that happened in your life to it. So that way you could go to the doctors, they could scan it and be like, oh, he's had all this done.
I mean, it sounds easy, but if you like also look back on it, like how easy was it for a guy to hack the cloud on all those celebrities' like private pictures? Can you imagine like all that information is going to have to sit somewhere? It can't just disappear on that one chip and stay there.
That's why you don't connect it to the internet. You would have to have a certain terminal that's not connected to the internet, so you can't hack into it. The only way to go in there is in person. Like, I believe that, but not just having a chip or a card. Like, make all the hospitals, the clinics, whatever, use the same software.
Yeah, that
like
makes
the
a lot of
VA,
sense too.
the VA hospitals across the U.S., they all use the same software. So if you put chart
It's called
in
Windows 1990, 1960.
yeah.
Windows
But
Vista.
whatever, you put stuff in the VA hospital in Oklahoma City, they're going to see it in Washington, D.C. if they pull up your chart, which is what they should do with all the hospitals. They should just make everybody go to this one thing. That way, everybody, you go in wherever, BFE,
But then
and then they're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. But they should let everybody get a piece of it. They should give like one piece of it to this company, one piece of it to this company.
So I think it should be like how third-party phone companies do it. So like third-party companies, phone companies, they'll use a little bit of Verizon, a little bit of AT&T, and they can
towers.
Yeah, they can use those towers to communicate, and it just helps out little companies.
I think instead of being money-hungry fuckheads about everything that goes on in this goddamn country, I think they should just help their people for once and just have a universal file, especially for medical.
Use some of our Medicare dollars towards that.
Stop giving a fuck about how much money is going in your pocket at night and just be like, oh, here's a device for all hospitals. Boom.
That's money runs the world. It's never going to change.
I was in class the other day and we're talking about dementia, and they said 2 out of every $7 goes to dementia patients, and that's expected to incline with the baby boomers getting so old. So they're thinking like when we get to where the baby boomers are at a certain age, that we're going to be paying half of all our Medicare dollars to dementia patients.
I don't know. I think that's going to do it for today. Thank y'all for watching. Hey, if y'all check us out on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media, and we appreciate everybody watching. Y'all have a good day.
Pushed it in 11.